Hello. Sorry that I'm late. 2 days in a row, 2 days not wanting to get out of bed. You know, you wouldn't think that I've had like 4 days off from work with how tired I've been over the weekend, but I have had like I had 4 days off. It didn't feel like it because like Wednesday was studying, Thursday was trying to sit an exam and then studying because I had to reschedule. Friday was sitting an exam. It didn't feel like I had time off. Such is life. It's honestly, it's my fault for leaving the exam until so late in. Hello, Espion, welcome. It's my fault for leaving my exam till so late in the month, to the point that it overlapped with the time I was supposed to be taking leave. Anyway. Yeah. We're going to be playing Great Ace Attorney Chronicles again today. We finished Case 2 last time, so we're going to start on Case 3. I have no idea what happens in this game moving forward. Because, yeah, I haven't played any further than this. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there was things I was supposed to be saying that I was thinking like, oh, I should talk about this before we start the stream. I can't think of any of it right now. My brain is a little dead, but hopefully Ace Attorney will wake me up. Oh, we had a couple drop frames. Hopefully that's all of it. It has been raining this morning, so if I start dropping frames all over the place, you know why. Rain tends to kill my internet. Anyway, let's just jump over to the game. We don't need a big ol' opening preamble, even though that is what I normally do. My nose is still a bit stuffed, so if my voices are a bit off, that's why. Also, my freaking follower thing still hasn't updated from all the people who unfollowed all the bot accounts.
The grand end of the century great exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe had converged on Hyde Park, welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few are aware my friend Mr. Herlock Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the great exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the crystal tower itself, brought the truth to light.
Okay. So it was solving...
We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people.
Why is this voiced, of all things? See, when games don't voice act everything, it's very interesting where they choose to sparingly use their voice acting. Why is this, of all things, voice acted?
The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment. Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world. Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and Today, we showcase even more advanced technology. A glimpse into the future. A world first. A demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine.
Okay. What does that mean?
A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and beamed to another location.
That sounds
Whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before.
That sounds like you're just gonna kill a man by electrocution. Does his top hat even fit in there? Oh yeah, only just.
In but a few moments from now.
I would not trust a man who runs like that to beam me through electricity.
This gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air. To arrive an instant later on the crystal tower behind you.
That man is making all sorts of noises. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, we're just not going to see the outcome of that? Okay. If you say so. 22nd of October, 9:36 a.m. Hey! It's 9:35 a.m. right now. At least where I am. I guess, thank you for the redeem. I guess me starting late actually had some benefit. We're at about the right time for the in-game clock. Shomes is sweet. Oh shit, what voice did I give Iris again? Can I even do Iris's voice right now? Runa, are you listening? Oh, sorry, what was that, Iris? Humph, what's the matter with you? You've been miles away all morning. Didn't you like what I cooked for breakfast? No, that's not it at all. What were we talking about again? Today's paper! It's full of news about the Great Exhibition again. Ah, yes, the Great Exhibition. I'd like to go sometime. ... You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley? He's in one of those moods again. Did you say something, Iris? Oh gosh, you're even more down. See, the cool thing about this game taking place in London is all the characters have British accents, which means I get to put on an accent that is very close to my actual accent for once, instead of going American all the time. Also, is my tea cold enough to drink yet? It might be. Not quite. Let's leave that for a bit longer. Ah! What the hell was that? When did you arrive, Mr. Naruhodo? I've been here for about half an hour already. We had breakfast together. What? Why didn't you mention it before? I thought you might have known I was here. You know, because breakfast. Iris is quite right. You are certainly lacking in vim. So much that I didn't notice your presence. Thanks. Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with some simple observations. What? Let's see. Yes, for example, your tousled hair this morning, with all its unruly spikes. Isn't that just how his hair normally looks? Clearly, it can be deduced, therefore, that... let me stop you there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has. Ever since we first met, in fact. Oh, really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Ha 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 ha. Thanks again. It crossed my mind recently that it's been 6 months now. 6 months? Since I was forbidden from working in court. So I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned. Why did he get banned in the first place? I don't think that was a... Did they mention that previously? Oh, well, that would explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley? Was it because he exposed the heckin' the government secrets or whatever? Hmm? Did you say something, Iris? Ah, back to moping. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems even more down in the dumps than me. I know! And the great exhibition is opened. You'd think you'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go to see it together? I want to, of course I do. But I can't. Not for the time being. Why not? Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective, after all. So you're embroiled in some tricky case that you can't be distracted from, is that it? I don't remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley. I suppose I should try to find out what's going on. Event 6 months ago. Oh, is this where we're going to get an explanation for why he was barred from working in court? Half a year ago now, I took on the defense of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at a London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much more far-reaching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable yet at the same time unforgivable mistake. And that was... Words fail me. This situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord. It's been quite some time since I played the first game, so I may or may not have forgotten the context of this. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. I was told I had to spend my time in research and study, so that's what I've been doing. You have, haven't you, Runo? Reading all those big fat tomes about British law up in your room. And the notes about Sholmes' old cases. Brewing Iris's special blends of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. You've become something of a manservant around here. Start on the silverware next, Master Naruhodo. Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider. Specifically Lord Strongheart at the British Supreme Court on Whitehall. Lord Strongheart? Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favourite fellow. He's not mine either, but he's the man I have to talk to. He's the only one who can grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could, and I can't do that just sitting around here. Okay, I don't remember what the mistake was that that Ryunosuke made. So this is kind of awkward for me. The whole of London has been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it? The most advanced science, the most modern technology, the finest works of art and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things, and the world will be watching. Well, do you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons. Look down on? Do you mean those things fly? Yes, of course. They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air. But how? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? It makes no sense. I can't understand it at all. That's true of a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first. But in 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge. I suppose they might be. Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seems very questionable. My tea is now cool enough to drink, so if I pause during the dialogue, you know what I'm doing. Something went wrong with the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently. There was a huge explosion. Still, I wish I'd seen it, though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scam experiments really are. Says the innocent 10-year-old girl. See here, every page of this paper carries some article or other about the Great Exhibition. But the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is my proper atmosphere. Newspaper. Shadows cast behind. Is that a metaphorical way of referring to the back page of the paper? Okay, let's have a look then, shall we? Oh. So many glowing reports about the Great Exhibition and everything that's going on there. Other than this rather gloomy looking one, that is. Wait, what? What's the matter, Uno? The Reaper attacked. That's Lord Van Zeeks. This must be what Mr. Sholmes was talking about. Does he know any more, I wonder? What about the front? What does that tell us? Every article on the front page is news about the Great Exhibition. Public experiments demonstrate brand new scientific ideas, cultural exhibits from around the world. It's also positive and hopeful about the coming century. We must all go to see it properly before long. First things first. You're investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes. You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add? That's not like you. What sort of case is it? Shh! Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo. We must not discuss it here. You never know who might be listening. You're acting very strangely, Hurley. What do you mean, Iris? Well, usually, the more mysterious and complicated a case is, the better Hurley's mood. Ah. Is it really a case that's bothering you? Iris, please. You mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. Remember what I always say. Put yourself in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions. You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes. Never mind. Once I've had a cup of tea, I must make my way to the crime scene. That was a deep sigh. Presumably it's about this. It says in the paper that Lord Van Zeeks was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bay Haley, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yes, Prosecutor Baroque Van Zeeks. Flashback for some reason. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. London's finest rogues always find ways around the law. They'll stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as these cannot save them from the hand of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. If a leader among their fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So, do you mean Lord Van Seeks has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time? He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take these attacks lying down. Although, it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. Oh my goodness, is he alright then? Is Lord Van Seeks hurt? My dear fellow, how on earth would I know? Well, in the article here it says, as to what of Lord Van Seeks and his condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow's morning edition. Ah, I see. Well, we shall have to be patient then. No, I can't wait until tomorrow. In that case, you shall have to inquire with somebody in the know. But who? Lord Strongheart, perhaps? So we're going to see Lord Strongheart either way, I guess. Oh, he's dressed. Well, I must be leaving now. Yes, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes. Ha! You really are a shameless liar sometimes, my dear fellow. What? You seem keen to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you would be wasting your time. The thought hadn't crossed my mind, but now I am wondering where you're going. Ha 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 ha. Well then, see you later indeed. Listen to him. He's still laughing, got his way out of the door. Well, that's it. I don't think we've seen Iris in her, like, in this outfit before. That's new. I guess because Iris is going to be our assistant since Susato is still in Japan. Alright then, Runa, let's get going. Oh, Iris. What are you wearing? I've got changed to go to the Great Exhibition. You're going to take me. What? But I was just about to go to the Supreme Court. Oh, well that sounds fun too. You're going to take me there then. Alright, fine, just lower that weapon, would you? Of course, and after the Supreme Court, then we'll go to see the Great Exhibition. Alright, if you say so. What shall I make for breakfast tomorrow? To the Supreme Court. Birds. Oh, we don't get times? We're just getting date stamps now, okay. 22nd October, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. This is a big-ass office. Jesus. It's been about 6 months now since I was here. Since I was last here. But some things never change. Like the sense of foreboding I always felt in this place. Iris? It doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. She's happily reading over there. Oh, I love this place. I always find so many interesting books here. Of course, I was forgetting that you've been here before. The time we came here 6 months ago. When Susato-san was given the news that she was to return to Japan. Ah, I understand you wish to speak with me. There's the man. Oh, Lord Strongheart, I trust you've been keeping well? Let's see. Since you arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. My apologies. Oh, no, not at all. I like nothing more than standing around staring into space. Probably shouldn't say that when you're asking to have your job back. Good to know. Good to know that doesn't appear to bother him at all. Male Strongheart. Lord Chief Justice of London. He's the man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. You need only savor the air for a moment in this grand office to understand his preeminent status. As you will be aware, the Great Exhibition of London is now underway at last. We're extremely busy as a result, policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, dealing with petty crime. Furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium. Oh, I've not heard about that. Investigating authorities from 40 countries around the globe will be taking part, including from your own land. Forensic science is the future. The world must embrace it. As we're the hosting nation, I have much to do, and it is my highest priority. If others must wait for my attention as a result, so be it. Well, it's nice to know where I stand. So, you wish to consult with me? Of course, I can very well imagine what this is about. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I want to be allowed to start working as a defense lawyer again in court. That's what brought me here today. But actually, there's something else playing on my mind as it happens. Bruno, just take a deep breath and come out with it. Alright, let's converse. I actually came here today to ask for your permission. Go on. 6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked, and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened, but the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend somebody under the rules of a foreign justice system. And I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Here it comes. I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role. Well, that's true. The Japanese government actually sent my best friend on this study tour, not me. It should have been Kazuma. He was so determined to bring change to our own justice system at home. That was his calling. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Asagi was my best friend, you say. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him. His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? Sorry? The mission with which that young law student was charged. What do you suppose it really was? Okay, I finished my tea. I can read normally now. What do you mean? Mission? He's not making any sense. Never mind. I've read all the reports you've submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your actions and have been studiously obeying your revised instructions. Do you mean... Let's go. As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain. Thank you so much. That's wonderful news, Bruno. In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope. Of course, please, tell me more. A curious affair. You described it as a curious affair? Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday? Oh, no. Yes, I read about it. A professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see, how was it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think. Instantaneous kinesis? As in moving things with a click of the fingers? That's right. That's just what my herbal blends need. A dash of devil may care. Whatever the serious accident was, it's clearly captured Iris's imagination. It's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage, and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. Odie Asman, an investor and a well-known figure in society. Okay, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't tell what the pun there is. But a lot of the puns, even the ones that aren't just like, hey, it's a Sherlock Holmes reference, a lot of the puns in this game, in the Great Ace Attorney games, are a lot more subtle than the rest of the Ace Attorney series. For example, in the previous case, the guy whose pun I couldn't figure out, Duncan Ross, I looked it up later. Apparently he's named after two characters from Shakespeare's Macbeth, which is relevant because the guy that killed him was like a Shakespeare knockoff. Which is like, you know, it's a cool reference, but no one's gonna understand what the pun is on their first playthrough. Compared to something obvious like Mr. Frank Sword. Wait, is Odesman a word? Hold on. Odesman. I don't know how to spell it. I feel like I've heard the word before. Okay, I feel like I know the word that the pun is based on, but I don't know how to spell it, so I can't look it up to see if it's actually at all relevant. A large explosion? A man died? The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Harebrain. Okay, well that's a much more obvious pun. Like Albert for Albert Einstein and harebrain because, you know, harebrained means like crazy. He was detained immediately after the incident and is due to appear in court tomorrow. On the charge of murder. What? Murder? If you intend to take on his defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There is very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation. The Great Exhibition, a scientific experiment gone wrong, and murder? I feel out of my depth before I've even started, still. We should go to the prison straight away then and try to meet with this German professor. Don't you think? Definitely. Ah yes, one more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper. Oh, with Lord Van Zeeks? How? Oh, but first we need to do this. All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Exhibition. And next month, the largest and most important of them will take place at last. The International Forensic Science Symposium. It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it? Exactly. Birds. Ah! London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. 6 million in a single city? Hold on, what's the population of Sydney? Oh, Sydney's like 5 million as of 2019. Huh. I guess having that many people in one city isn't too far a stretch of the imagination. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly alarming rate. So it is imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly! The future of policing. Ah! Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Oh dear, that's alarming. Exactly! It's extremely alarming! Birds! Ah! If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim. Sorry? By way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail everyone now. What? Oh, how fascinating. It all began 15 years ago. I was... I thought he was going to interrupt and say, like, no, it's all good. But no, we're actually just... We're zoning out. And then zoning back in. And that more or less sums up my feelings on the matter. In the simplest of terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Oh, right, yes. That's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now. Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful? I actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. Oh, do I have to, like, present him the thing about this? Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this? The reports of the overwhelming success of the exhibition? Of course! No, not that. The story on the back page. What story? The Reaper attacked. Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not? Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he? There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zieks would not be so easily dispatched, I assure you. Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know. You don't have much time, yet goes on a huge tangent. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's on me for clicking on the second conversation topic before clicking on the first one. Or for not clicking on the second one before clicking on the first one, but you know. Very well. If it interests you. It does, strangely. Van Zieks' condition. Fortunately, Lord Van Zieks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter. But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know? It's related to events that occurred a month ago. A leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations, was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zieks. But the man was acquitted. I have no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes. Large sums of money?
A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday.
But you're not suggesting that was the work of the Reaper, surely?
The victim's henchmen certainly seemed to think so.
He was a man by the name Asman. Mr. Odie Asman. Did you say Asman? I'm looking at Odie's-man. Is this really? I know I've heard the word Odie's-man before or something, but I don't know how to spell it, so I can't fucking Google it to find out what it means. That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition.
Yes, known publicly as an investor, but in reality the head of a significant criminal organization.
Unbelievable.
I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart? Try me.
Why do you use Lord Van Zeeks as a prosecutor? All the criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom, and fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zeeks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still, something's clearly going on here.
I have Van Zeeks work for the prosecution service for two reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him.
That doesn't make sense. How can you explain the way so many have died if not by someone's hand?
Van Zeeks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he is no killer. So he will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues must be starting to fidget.
Oh no. That tangent really set himself back as well as us. 11 hours late? That's quite something.
That meeting had already started when I arrived back here with this engagement for you.
We've been here for 11 hours? No wonder he said we don't have much time.
So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man.
I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh yes, where would I find Lord Van Zeeks now?
I would assume he's at his office.
Right, I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get it straight from the horse's mouth.
Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Hairbrain's defense entirely in your hands.
Of course, yes. Thank you very much, my lord. Alright. On the move we go. So we can go to the prison or to the prosecutor's office. Let's go to the prison first. Go speak to Professor Hairbrain. Cell 11. The warden said cell 11. That's this one. Oh, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back corner. Look. What's his name again? Professor Albert Hairbrain, wasn't it? Excuse me, Professor Hairbrain. Part of me feels like I should be giving him a German accent, but I don't know if I can do one of those. Who are you? I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, your defense lawyer. A lawyer! Blech. Sorry, winter is still getting to me. I don't think it's still whatever I was sick with like a couple months ago, but just general winter screwing up my nose and throat and everything. Was it something I said? A lawyer, you say? Would you be here about the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis? Your hypothesis? Sorry, I don't... Yesterday's demonstration! That demonstration was... That magnificent demonstration was... It was an out-and-out success, by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one listens. No lawyer believes in the science when it's explained. They all leave at high velocity. The edges of his glasses just disappear into his hair. Now's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while too. Alright. Let's have a word with you. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday. The papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he? Ah! Yes, you could interpret the results that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense, the experiment was a failure, but at the time, it was a great success. You've lost me. I saw it with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Asmund was spontaneously disassembled. Until then, everything was going to exactly as my calculations had predicted. I apologize to any Germans listening to this for butchering your accent. I am not a professional voice actor by any means. At that point, he should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. However, the machine exploded and Mr. Asmund in fact perished. Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure. So what you're really saying is the large explosion that killed Mr. Asmund was an accident, correct? But the bigwigs had you arrested on suspicion of murder. I was responsible for a man's death. That is the immutable truth here. And for that, I wish to be punished at once. But... murder? Never in a million years. It was an accident. Simply an accident. I see. Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know. He said the situation would change completely depending on whether or not it was treated as an accident or murder. How exactly? Well, if it was murder, he'd probably get the death penalty, presumably. Well, if it really was an accident, the professor's machine would be kept in protective custody. On what grounds? Ah, yes, it's newly established here in Britain. The special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act, or Stussy. That one passed by me. But if the case is treated as murder, then they'll say my machine was the murder weapon, and they'll be able to pore over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected from that at all costs. That's why it's imperative. Sorry. That's why it's imperative this whole trial incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial. I see now. Interesting. Somehow I don't think that's why they decided to try it as murder. There's probably another reason, because I doubt the British police force is interested in this guy's sham science. So in short, there was a terrible accident at the Great Exhibition Showground yesterday. Yes! Or rather, no. The devil is in the details. Strictly speaking, there was a terrible explosion. Sounds the same to me. You were demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, weren't you? How fascinating. Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible, using a sufficiently high voltage, to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see? That's my amazing hypothesis. Gosh, that's unimaginably high-level science. Oh, but dare to imagine it. Dare to dream of such incredible technology. Just think, one moment I could be here in this cell, and the next I could be at the Great Exhibition again. Well, yes, that would be incredible. And the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at a great Parisian theatre, say. The possibilities are endless. The whole planet, the whole of our vast planet would be within reach. God, I am probably butchering this accent so badly, but oh well, this is what we're going with. So no more hiding in wardrobes on rocky seas for 50 days? I don't really see it like that. What do you mean, Iris? Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vast anymore, would it? I would think it would feel like it had shrunk. My word! That's exactly right! What are the implications? What does this mean? I like the way his hair jiggles when he does this. Oops. That's got Professor Bunnybrain really worried by the looks of it. Clearly this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose. The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. But without a practical demonstration, it means nothing. Maybe you could have tried it with an inanimate object first instead of a person. And that's always the fly in the ointment. Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money. Money that a young scientist like you don't have. That's exactly it, yes. Hurley's always complaining about it. He says the government should invest more in science. Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Assman. The victim who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? The full name of the man who died in yesterday's accident was Mr. Odie Asman, wasn't it? What exactly was your relationship with the man? He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. He said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I thanked my lucky stars. I see. So you hadn't really known each other until then. Money for scientific research. I'm so envious. As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel. Oh, really? An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund this. Almost turned him into Dracula there for a second. He was prepared to suck your blood. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for presentation at the Great Exhibition. And if that went well, I could expect additional financial support for my research from the British government. Mr. Asman provided me with money and an exceptional engineer. He produced a machine to my precise specifications. But then your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion. As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Asman. I would never have thought of taking the man's life.
Well, he seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. Okay. Can we present anything?
Ugh, how could this have happened?
He must feel awful. As well as the man losing his life, the Crystal Tower was greatly damaged too. Oh no, that's not good.
I know what happened. It must have been that.
That?
The day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal of frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. When I paid the bill, they gave me three shillings too much in exchange. In change. But instead of saying anything, I just slipped the coins into my pocket, and they're still there now. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing. That's what this is.
For a scientist, he has some very illogical anecdotes. Long and illogical. Do I present this to be like, yeah, I'll represent you, or...?
Ah, fascinating, yes?
In Japan, where I come from, it's the symbol of a defense lawyer. Wearing it is very bracing, I find.
Your words make some sense to me, but they are entirely illogical.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, I find this white laboratory coat that I wear for my work very bracing too. However, in my case, there is a perfectly logical reason for that feeling.
Oh, really? What is it?
I purchased the wrong size by mistake. It is too small. This one is too small for me. The sleeves, especially, are extremely bracing. I can barely move my wrists.
He seems like he's been moving around fine. That's what you call logical, is it?
Of course, it's entirely logical. That's science, Mr. Naruhodo.
Okay, I guess we're done here. Time to go see the prosecutor then. Let me just check. Don't let your concentration slip. You might miss what people say.
Time to go see Mr. Van Zeeks. Oh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office?
Yes, it appears so.
It sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere.
Oh, is that... That hooded figure was so still, I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. What are you doing here?
That...
Well then. I thought it was Van Zeeks, but I guess not. He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am?
So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other?
No punishment is taking place here. Oh? That's my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. It must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. I thought that was his attacker, but I guess not. He's very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper? I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself, assuming, that is, such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our courtrooms. What are you talking about? Lord Strongard said that the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack? True, carried out by the henchmen of Odie Asmon's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably, some hoped to kill me before that happened. Odie Asmon. He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers, a global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhanded means, via his criminal activities.
And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper.
But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances, it was a most unusual cause of death.
I know about that. It was a super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Asmund died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion.
Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you?
Well, no. That does seem a little far-fetched. If this man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of this particular death at least. It's strange how this has worked out, hasn't it? Isn't it, Bruno? I mean, what with you taking on the Professor's defense in the trial tomorrow?
What? You're going to be defending him?
Oh, yes, that's right. Though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest. Were we supposed to do this before speaking to Professor Hairbrain?
Albert. Albert Hairbrain.
That's right. Do you know him by any chance?
Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together.
You're... What? Well then. That's a twist I didn't see coming. I'd understood that Professor Hairbrain was from Germany, though. Oh. So I shouldn't have been giving him a British accent, a German accent then. Oh well, too late now.
Hairbrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research, that's all.
Oh well, he still gets the German accent. It's too late now. So you were students together?
I was in the Faculty of Law, of course, and he in Science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along. Though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. And with you, of all people, representing him.
If only I make it out of this office alive. Or only if. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems.
Yes, I know. Because the prosecution will be handled by me.
By you? But you made it sound as if you and the professor had been friends.
We are friends, it's true.
Then why would you do this? If the Reaper is the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed. What's the Lord Van Zeek's thinking? Anyway, what do you mean by the Reaper's identity? What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean...
I am a crown prosecutor and a mortal like any other. I'm no demigod.
But they've all died, haven't they? The people you've prosecuted, I mean. Well, aside from Soseki Natsume. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal.
Not all of them. Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People who, without question, deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them.
But that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all. Nor was Ginny, in fact. In fact, she's ever so hard-working now.
I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work.
Lord Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way. But you are attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true.
The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, The number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially. Oh. It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives.
Do you mean to say...
I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I'll adopt it gladly and with honor.
But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed.
If that is my fate, let God decide.
Lord Van Zeeks. Well then. Do we present this now? Or do we... Oh, we probably look around the room, but I'm going to present this anyway. Lord Van Zeeks, about the article in this paper.
Ah, yes, it seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me.
It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away, though.
Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them.
But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it?
As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice.
Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him? Hey. Nice, nice.
He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose.
Ah. Like you are to Hurley then, Runo. I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detective.
He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack.
It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask.
On Lord Strongard's orders, nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity.
Why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual?
Lord Strongard's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for his actions.
I hope you're right. Oh. Hello. Ah.
The task is complete? Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs.
Nice to meet you. Okay. Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed. And yet, somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter.
Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongard has strictly forbidden it.
Oh, I see.
Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway?
Oh, no, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to. The way he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. It could be. I think I know what they're implying, but I would be very confused if that were the case. I'm not going to say it just in case I'm wrong and I make a massive fool of myself, but I think I get what they're implying and I don't understand.
Ah, yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you.
Oh, what's that?
That Nipponese man. Is he faring well?
Sorry?
The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago. With the stoop and the moustache and the jitters.
Ah, Mr. Natsume, you mean? I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out that you identified him from that list, Runo. He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day.
I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yes, thank you for the advice. And for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Soseki-san. After a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried.
I never imagined that the Reaper would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books.
A mad scientist? You mean Professor Hairbrain? Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zieks, I think. Alright, off we go then. Back to the prison. The Reaper's varsity years. I understand that Lord Van Zieks is a friend of yours from your university days? Even if he's originally from Britain, I'm still gonna... Hold on. Actually. How old is this guy? 33. He's probably spent enough time in Germany to develop a German accent, right?
Yes, that's right. He was studying law whilst I was studying science.
What was he like back then?
A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, and an all-round nice fellow, really.
Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor, Baroque Van Zieks. What was he like when he was at university?
Talk about a leading question, Runo. As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he is the little darling of the Van Zieks family, with all its great aristocratic origins. I didn't realize he had such noble blood.
Little darling?
It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learned what he'd become. The Reaper of Sibelian, no less.
Yes, that's right.
I did hear so. That there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation.
Really? What sort of event?
Ah! I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already.
Oh, yes, of course. If he's heard all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zieks will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow. Is that it? Is that all we got? So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying. You had no intention to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work. Is that correct?
As correct as 2 squared is 4. I swear it. Yes, it's true that the man perished in the machine of my invention. So I know I'm far from blameless in all this. But still, I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life. Not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that. All my life.
I'm afraid I don't know much about science, or your theories. But I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please.
When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything.
Thank you for that, Professor.
And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court. Right, alright, Runo. It's time! Time to visit the Great Exhibition! Sorry? Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it? Yes, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate at last. Okay, so we do get a bit of investigation before trial. We don't just get a random bit of talking before immediately being dumped into the trial. Good. It's not like the first Great Ace Attorney. To the experimentation stage. 22nd October, Great Exhibition Grounds. Foot of the Crystal Tower. The showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. We've been walking around in dense crowds for 2 hours now. I felt myself swooning 3 times. You mean fainting? Swooning has a very different implication in today's vocabulary, I feel. There are a lot of people, aren't there? I've almost been trodden on 3 times too. Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand. We finally made it through the throngs, though, by the looks of it. Here we are, underneath the public experimentation stage, where the explosion happened yesterday. Oh, they did damage the Crystal Tower. Question mark, ... exclamation mark. Again. What's that? I can hear voices from up on the stage. It sounds like an argument. Up we go, presume. Oh. Right, I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you, I'll arrest you in a minute. Oh yeah? Go on then, Inspector. Give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence, you know it. Wait, I know those voices. You've got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady. But no, the cells will teach you some manners. Just try it, I dare you. If you want that bag of chips rammed down your throat. Yoo-hoo, Gregsy, what are you doing up there? Down he comes. Ah. Ah! It's you! Here. Oh. Hold on. It's you! Here, you're here! Here you are! You here! Your ladyship! How are you, your ladyship? I hope you're doing well, your ladyship. For those who have not seen... Did Iris... I don't think Iris interacted with him in the previous case. So for those of you who haven't played the first Great Ace Attorney, the reason Gregson seems to fawn over Iris is because she includes Gregson in some of her... the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes stories. And as a result, Gregson's reputation has gone up dramatically. So he always tries to treat her well so that she continues to include him in her stories. Does that make her 3 times a lady? I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. I wanted to ride a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue. Unbelievable. I'll have a word. I'll go and have a word for you at once, your ladyship. You'll be flying as high as a kite in no time once I pull some strings for you. Tobias Gregson, an inspector at Scotland Yard. Until recently, he was suspended from duty, but it would appear he's back in action now. Oh, right, yeah, because he was, he also had some misconduct during the final case of the previous game. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. And for that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. Well, okay. There I go explaining things that the game is about to explain. I keep doing that. But there are limits, surely. Or there should be. Watch it, sunshine. Sorry. What gives then?
Don't tell me you're on this case. Yes, I'm acting for the defense. Gotta love that never-ending fish and chips.
So we're here to investigate.
Dear me, that's the situation, is it?
Is it really that troubling? A measly 5 bob, is that all you got? You're a lawyer, ain't you? You can't stand to carry a bit more copper around in your pockets, Mr. Naruto. What? Hey, that's my last bit of spending money, that is. You can have it back, but I have to charge you for all the bother. 3 bob. This is Gina Lestrade, a pickpocket or diver born and bred in the East End of London. Both Gina and Inspector Gregson, they don't have puns for their names. They're just named after Sherlock Holmes characters. In the case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago, this is the young girl I was defending in court. What's your problem, Ayoto? Diver, pickpocket, what's with all the name calling? You want a bag of chips rammed down your throat and all? Oh, do ya? I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. You were just arguing with Inspector Gregson about it, weren't you? I assume you've been up to your usual tricks here at the showground. That ain't no way to talk to a lady, Odo. Half a year's a long time. People change. I'm an apprentice now. Learned to be a Scotland Yard detective. So you'll have to call me what everyone else does. It's Inspector Lestrade now.
Inspector Lestrade being the Sherlock Holmes character she's named after. Inspector? That badge is homemade, surely. The inspector part isn't entirely accurate. No one calls it that. For what it's worth, anyway, investigating's off the cards for all of us.
What's that supposed to mean?
Right, well, I'll be back up top. You hold down the fort here, alright?
Right, sir.
This raises a lot of questions. Well, time to ask those questions.
It was 8 months ago now that I first encountered Gina, in connection with the case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. She helped all of them survive by pickpocketing, but then she got embroiled in a murder. I had a lot of time to think in prison. I realised I couldn't go on like I was. The diving weren't working out. Oh, I'm pleased to hear it, Ginny. Well done. So, you went from being a pickpocket to a detective? You got it. Good in it. Inspector Lestrade. Sounds like something out of a book, eh?
Something out of a book. Because she's named after a Sherlock Holmes character.
Talk about a sea change. And then there's Iris. And then there's Iris's old man to think about. Iris's father, you mean? Yeah, I promised her, didn't I? I said I'd get all the police forces around the world to pull out all the stops looking for him.
Well, he died in the first case of the previous game and no one's told Iris about it.
Just a small promise then, nothing serious. Oh, Ginny, you're so sweet. Anyway, that's how I come out and go at the test for Scotland Yard. Only trouble is, I don't read so well, do I?
Just a small problem, nothing serious.
And that's when Hurley approached Gregsy and asked for help. So the inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Ginny and made her sort of an apprentice. A sort of apprentice.
That was very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson. And brave.
Well, you know Hurley. He enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants.
The great detective likes digging for dirt, in other words.
So the long and short of it is, if you've got questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade. Right then, Inspector. Actually, there's still a big mystery surrounding Gina, isn't there? Oh, what, Bruno, what? Well, 6 months ago, Gina was the defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper. A trial in which she was found not guilty, and yet here she is still. Come on, you're not still on about that, are you? The Legend of the Reaper or whatever it's called. Cool, you don't half worry, Odo. If I didn't half worry, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left. It's like I told you before, innit? The Reaper's kind of like him upstairs. So he knows what I'm like on the inside. That I ain't really done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong might be stretching a point. What about Mr. Natsume in Japan? He's perfectly fine, isn't he? Well, that's true. Perhaps the Reaper is more discerning than I thought. Exactly. So I ain't worried. I'm totally fine. I hope that remains the case. I don't want her to die. She's fun. Cool, it was out of this world, it was. The brainy bloke pulled a bunch of levers on his machine and suddenly started billowing smoke. It just went pop. I ain't seen a better experimenter yet. Sorry? You mean, you saw it, Ginny? With your own eyes? Yeah, of course. The boss is in charge here, ain't he? Of keeping everything run smoothly, I mean. The boss being Inspector Gregson, I suppose. That's going to take some getting used to. So all I have to say is I'm on duty. I'm on duty and I can do whatever I want to. Get this, I was up in one of them flying balloons when it happened, watching it from above. No, you're so lucky, Ginny. Maybe I should join Scotland Yard too. Yeah, do it. You know how to put the boss in his place already, right? Right, Iris? You'd have no trouble at all. Then it's settled. When do I start? No. You can't join Scotland Yard, Iris. We'll see. Anyway, what I don't understand is, if the machine exploded so spectacularly, how could Professor Bunnybrain still be claiming his experiment was a success? Oh, right. Well, it was a success in a way. It was? How could it have been? What does that mean? What do you mean? Surely after the whole machine blew up, no one could call the experiment a success. It's like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a whole lot of smoke and that whopping great bang. But where do you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the Crystal Tower over there. What? In the Crystal Tower? You can see for yourself, can't you? Up there above the scaffold. I'm guessing it wasn't a case of instant transmission, and more a case of the explosion sent his body flying. That's my guess at this point. I don't have a solid read like I did in the last case, where I was just screaming over and over gas leak. But that's my preliminary guess at this point. Oh, where are all the glasses broken, you mean? Yeah, the cage what the victim got in to start with really did get beamed through the air and whatever, and landed all the way over there. So you see, it did kind of work, didn't it? What? I don't believe it. I mean, I don't get the ins and outs of it, but anything's possible, right? With science. Oh, I tell you what, you can have this. It's a part of the experiment they drew up at the yard. Are you sure? Yeah, go on. I had 3 bob off you before, so fair's fair. Yes, I didn't actually give that to you, did I? Let's have a look at that, actually. That doesn't really tell us anything, but okay. I assume that's going to be useful later. Something Inspector Gregson before seemed a little strange. For what it's worth, anyway, investigating is off the cards for all of us.
Yes, naughty old Gregsy ran off after that without explaining himself.
Just got the urge to say, the future is now, thanks to science. The power of science is amazing.
Oh, right, that. The boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine what blew up yesterday. That's not fair, we're representing the defendant.
In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned from your investigations?
Nah, you're not getting it. We're not allowed to investigate neither.
Why?
What did the boss call them again? The forensic investigation team, I think? Anyway, apart from them lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. Bit funny, innit?
So not even Scotland Yard's own detectives can investigate. Yes, I've never heard anything like that before. Or heard something like that before.
I thought I could have a gander on the quiet though, but the boss caught me at it. You probably heard him giving me an earful about it before from down here, didn't you? It's not blatant fair!
I think you were giving him as much of an earful back as I remember it.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think
it's all them chips what make him so stubborn. I mean, chips are pretty good.
You say something to him, Odo. Come on, see if you can get through to him.
He's up on the platform above us, is he? Where the machine that exploded is?
We can try, can't we, Rudo? Gregsy will listen to us.
If you say so, but first I'd like to have a look around down here, because there is stuff to look at.
Oh look, what's this? A ripped piece of cloth.
It's not like any fabric I've ever seen before. It's very thick and stiff. Looks extremely durable.
It's canvas, I think, with some sort of rubber backing. And the edges appear to be a bit charred as well.
Maybe that means it had something to do with the explosion.
Let's make a note of it while Ginny's mid-yawn.
And what about all this? For some reason the ground is damaged in this spot, look. It's almost as if there was a fire here or something.
Yes, if you look closely, there's some scattered ash and burnt embers too.
Well, I suppose there was a big explosion just above here. People probably wouldn't bat an eyelid if a small fire like this would have been. Been as in existed in this case, I suppose.
I'm not sure we English are quite that laid back, Rudo.
And what is this?
It looks as though somebody dropped something just behind the tree here.
Dropped or hid? That's a crossbow! What is this? Some part of the machine that exploded?
Maybe. It could have fallen from the platform above in the blast, perhaps.
Is it not a crossbow? It really looks like a crossbow to me.
What's going on here?
Oh, nothing. I think I'll hang on to this just in case. I'm pretty sure that's a crossbow. The Crystal Tower. It's certainly an apt name. It's built to be the focal point of the exhibition, and it definitely is, being so tall and with all that glass. I can't imagine a building like this ever being erected in Japan. Is that supposed to be a joke? Because I'm pretty sure, like, admittedly, it's not quite the same, but the Crystal Tower reminded me of the Eiffel Tower, and Japan has a tower that's quite like the Eiffel Tower. Anyway.
There are lots of exhibits inside the tower as well, apparently. Of course, there's an observation deck, but there's also an art gallery, a zoo, and a museum.
A zoo? In a tower like this? That doesn't strike me as safe.
But I heard you have to queue for 3 hours just to get through the doors.
Well, at the moment, the shattered glass from the failed experiment may well be the biggest draw.
And thanks to that accident, the whole tower is shut.
Suddenly it's not the crystal tower anymore, but the crystal glass shower.
Apparently everyone's taking to the skies now to look down on the disaster area from above instead. But there's a 3-hour queue to go up in a balloon now.
Londoners must be very patient people. Oh, we can look up as well. Presumably at the actual damage.
That's where the cove ended up after his instant kinesis, or whatever they called it. Dead, of course.
And yet they're calling the experiment a success?
What's the wooden scaffold there for? The coppers, our lads, set up that after the incident happened. To get the body down, I think. Don't know, really.
Didn't you help erect the scaffold, then?
Nah, lookout duty's more my thing. Wandering around the exhibition, keeping a lookout for the fun stuff.
Mind Gregson doesn't hear you saying that, or he'll give you the boot. It's incredible though, isn't it? I mean, could the victim really have bridged that gap by some sort of invisible kinesis? No, he probably just got launched over there. I've been meaning to ask you for a while now, but what are those funny round blobs floating in the sky?
Oh, they're the flying balloons I've been talking about. I want to go up in one so much.
I've read about situations like this in a magazine about strange phenomena. Creatures from outer space coming in round flying objects to attack Earth. You know, Ryunosuke didn't really strike me as the superstitious type, but okay. Then again, he has been talking about this whole Reaper of the Bailey stuff, so...
What?
I suppose inhabitants of other planets are bound to be interested in the great exhibition.
This is it, Iris. It's happening.
It's not. Don't worry. I'll explain it all to you later over a nice cup of tea, Runo. Okay, that is not what I expected when I was investigating a balloon, but okay. Oh, do we do it by, like, doing this? Okay. That platform must have been set up for the experiment, I suppose. It's very high up.
About 30 feet above the ground, apparently. That's what a policeman I just spoke to said.
I don't really understand feet very well. We don't use them in Japan. As you shouldn't. The metric system is clearly superior.
Oh yes, sorry. It's about 9 meters. But soon you'll have been in London a year, Runo. It's time you got used to our measurements.
Yes, well... This thing is so tall, the spectators at the front would just have seen a wall and nothing else.
They probably thought they'd secured the best spot to watch from, only to be disappointed.
There's a saying in Japan, the darkest spot is right under the lighthouse. I feel like it probably applies here. Okay, I select the stairs then. These stairs obviously lead to the stage above. We should go up there and investigate the exact spot where the experiment was being conducted. Up we go. The thing's still sparking. Didn't you disconnect the electricity from it? Jeez. So that's it, is it? The machine that blew up?
Oh, it must have been a magnificent explosion. I've seen my fair share.
You've seen things like this before, you mean?
Of course, Hurley's always doing experiments that end in a bang. In fact, in his own words, explosions are the very essence of chemistry.
Ah, that might explain the smell of burning that frequently comes wafting up the stairs.
One time he made something that exploded with such force it took It took the roof off the building. I wish you'd been there to see it, Runo.
It's hard to get too excited about that, given I now live in the roof.
Well, anyway, that's enough about that. It's time to investigate.
Or is it?
Ah, look, Inspector Gregson is over there. He seems to be deep in thought about something.
Whilst eyeing up the machine carefully.
Really? He just looks confused to me.
Let's talk to Gregson, I guess.
Rip itself apart magnificently, didn't it?
I was trying to talk to Gregson.
Magnificently and mercilessly.
So someone just stands in the middle of the machine to be disassembled and then beamed through the air.
Yes, beamed. Not blasted.
That's the point. Yes, that part's crucial, really. Is something like that even possible, though, Iris?
Oh, Runo, I'm just a child. How should I know?
A child when it suits you, you mean?
From what I can tell, I think if you were... From what I can tell, I think if you were to pull this lever here...
Stop! Don't touch that!
That was practically instantaneous kinesis the way you flew over just now, Gregsy.
Please, your ladyship, I didn't mean to startle you, but I can't let you touch anything up here.
So sorry. You can have some of my latest special blend to make up for it.
Glug, 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 glug. Ah, wonderful. This stuff really is wonderful. It's just like old times, this is.
We're representing Professor Harebrained in court tomorrow, Inspector. So we should be allowed to examine the scene.
Ha! Listen, Sunshine. Even I'm not allowed to touch anything up here. It's that blasted Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act to blame. It's driving me potty.
Oh yes, that special dispensation.
The professor mentioned that too. More red tape's all we need. I don't know what the government thinks it's playing at sometimes.
But we're allowed to just look, aren't we?
Eh?
Surely that's alright, isn't it, Gregsy?
Course, your ladyship. Anything you say, your ladyship. But please don't get your dainty hands dirty, will you?
Don't worry. We wouldn't dream of touching anything, would we, Runo? She really knows how to get what she wants.
Alright, let's have a word with him first before we look around.
Using high voltage electricity to somehow disassemble a man's body, and then beam him across to the Crystal Tower. It's an extraordinary thing to attempt, especially in public.
True. It was by far the most unusual of the experiments planned for the exhibition, mind.
To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it was allowed. Carrying out something so dangerous with so many spectators present, I mean.
The government's doing everything it can to promote new science and technology at the moment. They're more worried about being ahead of the game than the odd spot of public safety infringements. If they can be the first to develop some new technology, it makes Britain more powerful in the future, you see.
Yes, I suppose that's true, in a way.
So the powers that be are placing a heavy emphasis on the scientists' rights at the moment.
What sort of rights?
They're making it so any theories the brains have remain their legal property, as it were.
Oh, is this where...
Is this during the time where intellectual property was first established? Right through developing it to a practical idea and even going into production. Which is the infuriating reason us coppers aren't allowed to touch this crime scene. Because
because the new highfalutin Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act forbids it. Ah, I see now. The only people with permission to investigate here are some brand new department of the yard. The Forensic Investigation Team, as it's called. We've been relegated to keeping guard. The Forensic Investigation Team. Any old fool can see that this heap of scrap was a sham to begin with. But just because it says scientific equipment on the paperwork, we can't do a flaming thing with it. I feel like I'm turning his accent more Australian than British, but oh well. Poor Gregsy, he's not very head up, is he? Oh, he's very head up, isn't he? Special Dispensation. Remind me again, what's this new legal act that means we're not allowed to touch the crime scene, touch the scene here? Why are you having me at Sunshine? It's the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. Spinsy.
Yes. I think Hurley mentioned that recently. With a real twinkle in his eyes, I remember.
I'm sure he did, your ladyship, I'm sure he did. Passed especially for this great exhibition it was. All scientists have to do is present their ideas or inventions to some suits in the civil service. And if it gets rubber stamped, that's a guarantee of rights to maintain the invention's confidentiality. What does that really mean? Think about it. Think of all the world-changing new inventions on display every day at this exhibition. Although a good half of them are a load of cobblers, if you ask me, put forward by shammers like yourself. Thanks for that.
Oh, I love how absurd some of the inventions here are. It's all so fun.
It might be fun for you, but a member of the force has to be present at every single demonstration. You imagine, eh? Hang science, that's what I say.
Oh, I don't think so. That sounds like my dream job.
You'd soon think otherwise after spending a day guarding all these shammers, bogus contraptions.
But if they're all bogus, how can anyone hope to demonstrate them? There'd be no point.
Yeah, well, there is a point, sadly. Sorry? Thanks to another of our government's prime ideas. If any theory or invention is deemed to show potential, the government hands out a research grant.
The scientists get funding?
Exactly. And that's what they're after. All these shammers coming from far and wide to clog up Hyde Park. And who has to keep them all safe, eh? Who has to smile politely and welcome them? Us coppers, that's who. So you can see why I say it now, can't you? Hang science, hang it!
Oh, maybe I can see your points.
And what about Professor Harebrain himself?
Apparently Professor Harebrain lives and works in Germany now, conducting his research.
That's right. Came back to Britain specially for the Great Exhibition, as I understand it. Probably after one of the government's research grants.
Actually, we learned something else about the professor earlier today. About his time in further education. Turns out he was at university with someone we both know. Lord Van Zeeks.
Hey, what's that? That's news to me. But if Van Zeeks mans the prosecution, then as the accused, the professor's fate is
sealed? Because the Reaper will get him one way or another?
Blimey, that man's beyond me. I don't know what goes on in that head of his. Talking of Van Zeeks, this morning's paper ran the story of him being attacked. Read that?
Oh yes. But Mr. Reaper is completely fine. Nothing to worry about.
Yes, right. Glad to hear it. Still, the Reaper, huh? How long is that business gonna keep up, I wonder?
What do you mean by that? The victim of the case, the investor Mr. Asman. He was another of the Reaper's victims, or so I heard.
Lord Baroque Van Zeeks is a top-class prosecutor. But even he can't always push the right verdict through. Sometimes justice can't win. Yes, I've heard about jurors being bribed and evidence being falsified. And that's how the notion of the Reaper of the Bailey came about, isn't it? Obviously, Scotland Yard suspected Van Zieks initially. We all assumed he was taking matters into his own hands if he failed to seal the deal in court. Although the man himself denies that charge, well, we've done a very thorough investigation, and the conclusion we reached is that Lord Van Zieks is in no way related to the deaths of those people outside the courtroom. There's no question in my mind. I'd stake my reputation on it, I would. But if that's true, then how do you explain it? All those defendants couldn't have just coincidentally died if nobody killed them. I know that, but I can't explain it. It's a mystery after all, isn't it? That's the whole point of the Reaper. Professor Harebrained mentioned something else. He said that at university, Lord Van Zieks was a totally different person, easygoing and kind. You what? He said that it was after they both graduated that something happened to change the man. You have any idea what it was? No clue. Really? Look, I've got my hands full watching over this frustrating crime scene. Why don't you go and make a nuisance of yourself elsewhere, eh? Interesting. Anyway, let's have a look around, shall we? Considering how badly damaged everything else is, Professor Harebrained was lucky to escape unscathed, I'd say. We should have a good look around the machine while we can, I think. Touch anything and I'll make sure I kill you before I get strung up myself, you hear? I wouldn't touch a thing, I promise. So please, spare a thought for your digestion. Anyway, do you really think this machine could actually disassemble people like the professor claims? He asked, looking totally incredulous. Give it a rest, sunshine. If we were allowed to examine all this bleeding scrap metal, then maybe we could answer that question. But we can't, can we?
Because of the annoying rules, you mean?
Exactly! The annoying, obstructive, flaming rules.
Oh, look at that, the base of the machine here. The base of the machine there. Oh yes, there's a tool of some kind poking through the wire mesh.
It's a screwdriver, I think.
Oh, isn't it a lovely one? The handle's in the shape of the capital letter A.
It is? Oh yes, you're right. What's the matter with you? Don't touch anything, I said. Touch anything and I'll make sure I kill you before I get strung up myself, I said.
Yes, I understand. Sorry, I only touched it a teeny weeny bit. But Gregsy, I'm very curious about this screwdriver. Really very, very curious.
Of course, your ladyship, you're so clever, your ladyship. Fancy spotting something like this. But I'm afraid I can't let you have it.
But Runo found it first.
I assure you I'll investigate it thoroughly. He's gone off with it.
Humph, that was very mean, I'm afraid. I'm afraid Inspector Gregson is going to make a very clumsy and embarrassing mistake in next month's installment now.
Poor Gregsy. Oh, is that it? That's all we get? Oh no, he's back. Right. Ain't done here, Mr. Naruto. Sorry? Isn't it about time you were leaving? Or rather, it is about time you were leaving. That lot are here now.
That lot?
The forensic investigation team. They'll be giving me the heave-ho in a minute too.
Oh dear, poor Gregsy. Here, have another cup of my special blend to cheer you up.
Glug, glug, glug. Ah, that hit the spot. Yep, hits it every time. Well, at least we've seen the scene with my own eyes. Or at least I've seen the scene with my own eyes. It looks like this is as far as we're going to get in our investigations here at the least.
I've been thinking. Hurley might notice something, mightn't he?
About what?
About Mr. Reaper.
About what happened to Lord Van Zieks, you mean? Because it sounds like something very significant occurred after he graduated from university. Something that completely changed his life. Maybe, but I have no idea where to find Mr. Sholmes at the moment. He's in the middle of some big case, isn't he?
Here, this is what you need.
Madame Tuspels? What is this? Some kind of entrance ticket? Madame Tuspels? Is this supposed to mean something to me?
You don't know it? It's the most popular attraction in London at the moment. It's very close to Baker Street, actually. We could go now if you like.
No, we don't have time for visiting attractions today, Iris. We have a big trial tomorrow.
But that's where Hurley is.
What? At this popular London attraction?
Yes.
How is it that you know where he is?
Hurley told me, but he told me to keep it a secret from you, Rono.
Madame Tuspels. I don't see how it could be related to the case we're investigating here, but then stranger things have happened. And when they happen, Mr. Sholmes is usually at the heart of them. Alright. Off we go then. To our Madame Tuspels. This is related to... Yeah, Museum of Waxworks. So that's going to be a reference to... Yeah, Madame Tussaud. More references to real-life things. I wonder why Tuspel, though. Like, they have included a real-life person in this game previously, so why couldn't they just use the real Madame Tussaud? Or maybe they couldn't get permission from the estate of Madame Tussaud. What is this place? Look at these terrifying scenes. But why are all the people so still? Guillotines, ruthless murderers. I know what I'll be dreaming about tonight.
They're all wax models. They're amazingly realistic, aren't they? What do you think, Bruno? Shocked?
Wax models? Ah! I read about dead bodies and wax once in a magazine about strange phenomena. Depending on how corpses are kept after death, parts of them can turn to wax, apparently. What? You good, my dude? It's called a adipocere.
Stop talking about creepy things like that, Bruno. You're scaring me.
Anyway, adipocere doesn't form readily, you know. It's only in very specific... Ah! What now? I've just remembered something else I read in another magazine about strange phenomena. My man has been reading a lot of magazines. There was an old lady, maybe a witch, who used to pour molten wax over corpses and put them on display.
None of the exhibits here are real. They're all entirely man-made replicas.
It can't be. Do you really expect me to believe that? Just look at them.
Oh.
There's no way anyone could make models of people that are this realistic. They're all such gruesome scenes. Wait.
What is it?
I find it interesting that the two on the sides are like 2D images, But then you have the 3D models sitting there in the middle. And of course, Sherlock Holmes. What is it? Oh, no. I must be seeing things. Oh, what the hell is that? That can't be good, but first, Sholmes. It's the great detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Mr. Sholmes has his own wax statue here, really? Well, he is world famous after all. It's an uncanny resemblance, isn't it? Makes my skin crawl to look at it. I know. But look, Bruno, you can kick this Hurley and he doesn't move a muscle. You can't go kill. You can see it moving in the background. You can't go around kicking the exhibits, Iris. Wait. It just moved, I'm sure. And not just a little bit either. Hmm? Really? Did it? And look closely. There are beads of sweat on the face of this waxwork model. Shall we move on, Iris? Over there, look, there's a great murder scene to enjoy, much more appealing. My dear fellow, I take exception to your recoiling in such a manner, as if you've seen something truly abhorrent. Mr. Sholmes, I know it. Iris, what possessed you? I strictly forbade you from divulging my temporary waxwork secret to Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo. Temporary waxwork? What do you mean? And that kick! Could you not have exercised a little more restraint? You winded me! But Bruno has something he needs to ask you. Ah, a question? And I thought you'd probably be getting bored too. So here we are. Well, I can't deny that your timing was impeccable. A mere 2 minutes before being stationary like that, and my great brain, upon which all my success has been built, would have turned to wax. Thank goodness we arrived in time. Indeed, in many ways, the pair of you just saved the world from an unimaginable loss. Oh, Harley, you like to talk nonsense, don't you? He could know something, it's true, about Lord Van Zeeks and what happened in the past to change him. Now that you're here, let's take our time. How can I be of assistance? For you're in luck. I'm suddenly quite taken with the idea of conversing. Oh, well, actually, I'm in quite a hurry. And if my eyes don't deceive me, I believe something is afoot within the walls of this very museum. A most fascinating case, if I'm not mistaken. Really? Moreover, I have a strong suspicion that it is related to the matter about which you have come to me now. But how could it be? We shall speak again presently, my dear fellow. But for now, I must return to my work. What? Back to being a temporary waxwork exhibit? What is this place? Madame Tunspells came to London from France 3 years ago, I understand. Since she opened this little waxwork museum last year, it's greatly enjoyed by... It's enjoyed great popularity in London. There are museums like this in Japan too, but these displays are something else. Oh, that was Ryunosuke. I'm dumb, sorry. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they? The extreme realism of these waxwork models is a particular secret of the Tunspells family, they say. They earned renown during the French Revolution for waxworks of victims of the guillotine. Ugh, that sounds grim. The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism in the expressions of the faces of the condemned.
Apparently, the sculptors would make the models directly from the corpses, right there at the site of the executions. That really turns my stomach. That's just one of several legends about the Tuspells family. Whether there's any truth to it, I couldn't say. But anyway, this museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum, by quite some margin, is this House of Horrors. House of Horrors? Of course, visitor numbers are dwindling now as a result of the Great Exposition. Exhibition. But people usually flock here to see the exhibits of some of London's most vile criminals at their gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here were sent to the gallows. So they're even stiffer now than the models of them. Ha 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 ha! Have you heard of poor taste? My dear fellow, the public live for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked. So the hideous exhibitions here are... they're all portrayals of real events that took place. Is it just me, or did the temperature in here just seem to drop? Anyway, I advise you not to think too deeply about what you see here. Oh, he's back to being a waxwork, is he? What do you mean by a temporary waxwork, Mr. Sholmes? Exactly what you see. I'm part of the exhibits here, catching these criminals in the act. Catching them? Every half hour, I home in on a different killer in one of the displays and adopt a new pose to ensnare him. When the members of the public come for a closer look, I offer them my hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photograph with us. Us? Does he mean him and the waxwork murderers here? But why, Mr. Sholmes? My dear fellow, isn't it obvious? For the money! He really roared at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors. As it stands, I may struggle to pay this month's rent. And I have the ravenous Iris to consider. Oh, Hurley. I'm so hungry. If push comes to shove, I shall have to ask you to do your bit, Mr. Naruhodo. What's he threatening to rope me into now? So, with that in mind, how about a photograph? As a special treat, you may have your pick of these murderers and scoundrels here. The choice is yours. Maybe some other time. Remember, Mr. Naruhodo, ignore me at your peril. Back to being a waxwork again. Is it just me, or did his final remark there sound a lot like a curse? Now, what are we asking him? Or at least, what does he have to say about what we're asking him? Well, what is it you'd like to ask me then? Actually, it's about Lord Van Zeeks. Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How'd you find him? Well, I trust? Fade to black while we explain the details. And so I filled Mr. Sholmes in about everything I'd learnt. About Lord Van Zeeks, about Professor Hairbrain, and about the strange coincidence that they had been at university together. So I'm wondering what it was that happened to make Lord Van Zeeks such a different person. I was sure that you'd know, Hurley. You said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before, that something was afoot, and you believed it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Sholmes? He suddenly clammed up. Well, it seems we've reached the unavoidable... Greetings. Oh. Never mind. Definitely the wrong voice to use. Hello. Where did she appear from? And what's she wearing? Okay, so that's why she's Madame Tuspells instead of... I guess two spells rather than Tussaud, because she's dressed like a witch. And what's she wearing? Could she look any more mysterious?
I hope you are appreciating my museum. What? I mean, yeah. Yeah. Welcome, Raccoon. Hope you're having a good day. Sorry, have we... Mr. Sholmes, do you know this? Not again. My apologies. I am Esmeralda Two Spells. Yeah, Two Spells. This is my museum of waxwork. What? You? You're the Madame Two Spells? It's been a while since I've had to say this, but I don't speak French. God damn it. The heckin' another code had in the previous game, or in the original game. This game has I don't speak French. Doing so been looking. Okay. I hope things do better than so for you in the near future. That is probably a weird way to phrase that, but yeah. Oh, how do I do a fucking French accent? It's just gonna end up sounding like my German accent. I can't. I don't have a wealth of European accents to pull from. Bien sûr. I don't know how to pronounce that. Though only 26 years young, I might add. Is that significant somehow? I'm a madame in name only. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi. Right. Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks. Or rather, one waxwork in particular. But particular. That'll be Mr. Sholmes then. I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Oh, she has a... I was gonna comment on her, like, braided ponytail, but, this is, next time you move from your designated exhibit, there will be toil and trouble. Bubble, toil and trouble. Oh no! She sounds deadly serious. And that's a problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Sholmes about Lord Van Zieks now? Let's not forget what Hurley said before. About something being afoot, right here in the museum, I mean. Yes, I know, but... I'm so curious, I want to know what's happening here. Haven't we got enough on our plate already? Alright, I guess we're talking to Madame Two Spells now. Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Two Spells? I did. I'm the third generation of waxwork artisans, you know. Gosh. It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were checkered, living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution as she did. I'm trying to make it not sound the same as the fucking accent I gave Professor Hairbrained, but it's difficult. I need to practice my different accents, I guess, if I'm going to be voice acting, well, quote-unquote voice acting games like this. Not like professional voice acting, just, you know, doing the voices on stream. Though that is when she acquired the... I don't speak French. The savoir-faire that leads to the astonishing lifelikeness. All these waxwork really do who look as though they're alive. In fact, they look more alive than
What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminal past. All the waxworks were created in the presence of the real people on which they are modeled, in the hours immediately following their executions. That is the secret to the extraordinary lifelikeness.
That sounds terrifying.
All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry out one's trade par excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths. My exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see.
Why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying? What does that say? Alright, so the one on the left says, please do not touch the statues. The one on the left, something available, please inquire. I don't know what... Hold on. Oh, statues available, please inquire? Oh, I guess maybe those ones are for sale? Perhaps?
Do not fear.
Sorry?
This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme.
They can buy them, apparently. Maybe just those two that are rendered in 3D instead of being 2D images.
This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians. Something for every taste, I hope.
It was Iris who dragged me straight in here, come to think of it.
Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things.
What's the situation with, that?
Ah, my temporary waxwork model? He approached me some days ago, you see, with a business proposal.
Oh? What sort of proposal? My dear madame, what these sparse exhibits need is the addition of a world-famous great detective.
Or words to that effect. Naturally, I am well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective.
It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it. He and Detective Pikachu would get along smashingly.
Yes, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to come to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree terms.
Let me guess. Someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services? For a mere £500, I will dive into your cauldron of wax this very moment.
Or words to that effect.
Mr. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch.
Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment, due to unforeseen circumstances. So we came to the current arrangement instead.
Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing, though, does he?
I would think not, but he was very insistent.
I have a 50-shilling problem that must be resolved by the morning.
Or words to that effect. It's the pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem.
Is the consulting detective work not going so well? Alright, now what's this something afoot? I wonder, can I ask you about something?
Bien sûr.
Hold on, I need to look up how to pronounce this. If she's going to keep saying it. Okay, so it means, of course...
Bien sûr.
Sûr.
Bien sûr.
I'm just curious, is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps?
Whoever suggested such a thing to you?
Oh, well, it was, your temporary waxwork over there who mentioned it to me a little... Oh, he's disappeared. A wax model is a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade. I assume she's saying it, but it's for some reason in question marks. Ah! Oh, never mind. There you are.
Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working? Do you wish to be melted down?
My dear Madame Two Spells, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It's our ideas about your current problem that we must throw into the melting pot instead. Personally, I would advise you not to involve the police.
Why ever not?
She's turned as white as a sheet. Except she hasn't. They didn't change her model at all. Because you have at your disposal a great detective, whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Though please be aware that I insist upon payment in advance.
Very well. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we? Before I engage my analytical processes, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain? That is the Two Spells special exhibit. There's an extra charge to see it.
Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must have picked a serial killer then, I presume. Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder?
Absolutely. And none. There is nothing amiss behind there.
Nothing amiss, madame? What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain? I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond, before the situation worsens.
Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtains, but only for a soupçon.
I remember that one. I remember it. It showed up earlier and I had to look up how to pronounce it. It's soupçon, not soupcon. There's a grave, and I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The Two Spells special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however, pan down, is the portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor. I've seen this guy before, I'm pretty sure. Was he... He might have been the foreman of the jury in the first case, I think. In the first case of the... Well, the first British case of the first game. Well then perhaps, Mr. Sholmes, that man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself. I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He's a perfectly ordinary London gentleman, not even a waxwork, in fact. What? As skillfully made as these waxworks are, they're always distinguishable from real humans. So, allow me to present my two conclusions. The first, that a sizable business transaction has been taking place in this special exhibit.
Why would you say that?
And the second, that the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime.
Ah!
She looks as pale as candle wax.
I don't understand.
So, Madame Two Spells, as you've agreed to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. We're probably going to do this deduction segment and then we'll end off, because that'll bring us to around the time I would normally end the stream. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. Oh, that is money, actually. In my estimation, some £200. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Oh, she glanced over. Not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Two-Spells. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by that public notice. Waxwork for sale? Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer, the centerpiece of your special exhibit, for the sum of £200. Mon! Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Ah. Unfortunately, madame, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the £200. It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around your little finger most effectively. What are you suggesting? He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for the sum of £200. Only when he came to hand the money over did it occur to him what an extortionate amount he was paying. But the money was no longer in his hands. And the result, the scene we see before us. He collapsed in shock. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit fetched a killer price. We can only pray that the gentleman's dreams are not plagued with regret. Okay. Topic 2. Waxwork location. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly. What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. Such as is worn by policemen as a secret sign to fellow members of the force that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman currently investigating this museum. I'm pretty sure it's actually just a wax model. Yes, I know him well, in fact. It's Sergeant John Clay. Oh, so that's probably why these guys over here were in 3D, because they're going to be used during this deduction segment. What are you talking about? The man's quite a celebrity. He received triple accolades in last year's policing awards. But next we turn our attention to the old man set before him with a particularly unsightly visage. He has a tag on his neck, so presumably he's for sale as well. But he also has a yellow thing tied around him. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork. But you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madame. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe! The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. Oh, wait, no, the threepence. So that's probably the price for the scarf, actually. Threepence, a tragically low price, you might say. Though perhaps going Though perhaps the going rate for aging waxworks riddled with cracks. I'm guessing this guy is actually real. And it's the guy he said was real that's actually a statue. Yet you sold it to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant £300. The sort of plucky behaviour that's sure to attract the attention of Scotland Yard. Isn't that so, madame? I do not... Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police and remains in their custody as we speak. The old man must be reunited with his grave in the special exhibit, and not a moment too soon. Okay. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Now it's time for us to set him straight. I see I've stunned you all into silence. You have, Hurley, you have. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot. If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Sholmes. The notorious Naruhodo 1 point. I'm all ears, my dear fellow. According to your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So that would mean that he's the particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Ottomole. What? It was a mysterious series of murders that rattled the capital only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time, only to find that the culprit had disappeared into the ether. It turned out the culprit was a policeman himself, a senior policeman by the name of Ottomole. So you mean that's who the sinister... What the hell? One sec. I have returned. Apparently, delivery service working on a Sunday. That's interesting. But most importantly, I am now the proud owner of a Gummy Goo plush. Gummy Goo from the Amazing Digital Circus. I bought a plushie version of him. He's cute. I don't know if I have room for him on my shelf. I'll have to figure out where to put him after stream. Anyway. So you mean that's who the sinister looking old man there is supposed to be? Indeed. It is a particularly grim face, is it not? Sorry if I seem a little out of breath. I ran up the stairs to get it. I'm on the bottom floor of my apartment building, but street level is actually 2 floors up. Street level is at the middle of the building. So, whenever I get a delivery, I have to run up the stairs real quick. Unforgettable, in fact, yes. I remember that odious countenance only too well. But is £200 a lot of money for a wax model? It would be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages, if that puts things into perspective. So, it is quite a lot then. Is there anything else you wish to add? Before I melt you down? That bubbling wax is looking more and more ominous. Ugh, the smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me. Mr. Sholmes did more or less just accuse her to her face, so I think I might have to call on your assistance here, Iris, if that's alright. To make some minor corrections to the Great Detective's great deductions. Of course it's alright. We'll soon set things straight. Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Two Spells vents her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Two Spells, in accordance with our agreement... Oh, so that's what that one was. I had a weird... So I've been getting emails about deliveries coming. So initially it was like a glitch saying, hey, your Gummy Goo plushie has shipped. It's with this, you can check it through this shipping thing. But then the other day I got an email from a different shipping company saying, hey, we have your order. But there was like no branding or anything on the email. So I'm like, I'm not clicking that link. That looks suspicious as hell. Apparently, that's the company that picked it up in Australia, and they dropped it off today. And that's why I got an email this morning saying, hey, your thing's out for delivery. I do, however, have another parcel that I've been told is coming, like Monday or Tuesday, that I don't know what it is, but it's coming from the place where my parents live, so maybe they're sending me something without telling me. Maybe it's intended to be for my birthday and I'm not supposed to open it. But, I'll see. Once it arrives, I'll message my mom being like, hey, did you send this? Because, I don't know what it is. Am I supposed to open it? Anyway, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Not so much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Two Spells. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by that public notice. She definitely looked in this direction, it's true. But I'm not sure she'd sell any of her waxworks, even for £200. Except that she clearly is, considering there was statues available, please inquire or whatever. Oh? She must put her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax. If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything. For that much money, I would. But it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway. I wonder if the £200 could have some other significance. Let's follow that furtive glance again and see if there's anything else that could explain it. So there's the public notice. Let me just check what's on it. Waxwork for sale? Would anyone really buy models of mass murderers? I think I'd rather have £200 in my pocket. Exactly. You could buy one of those brand new types of steam carriage. That's what I'd spend it on if I had it, no question. Ooh, I'd buy all the herbs in the world. There must be another explanation for the money. We need to keep looking. She didn't steal it from him, did she? It seems this well-dressed gentleman is alive after all. Just not alive and kicking. And he's not a waxwork or a model of a mass murderer. I'm not sure I'd pay £200 for him. I don't think the man's up for sale. Well, anyway, it was a silly place to put him. Other museum visitors could easily trip up. I don't think the man was put here on purpose either. Is that... Alright, we can... Ah! Note on the wall, £200. What's that note doing pinned on the wall there? Ah yes, let's see. Dear Madame Tuspels, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is £200. Have the money ready by noon on 23rd of October. Ah, and it's currently the 22nd. What? What? This is just like the sort of thing that's left behind when someone is kidnapped. Yes, it's a ransom note. Exactly. Well.
Take that!
The significance of the £200 is revealed by that ransom note. Quite so, and we must congratulate these criminals on their inventiveness abducting a waxwork. Ah! £200 is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it. The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have. In summary then, the £200 you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madame, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the £200. So if the waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who this man is? We could just ask him when he comes round. I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris. Yes, you're right. Hurley's trying so hard, we mustn't let him down. Well, there's little doubt that he suffered a shock, that much seems clear. But in that case, what's Madame Tuspels trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around. Oh? Hand of Madame? This is just Madame Tuspel's right hand, isn't it? Oh, that's supposed to be Iris. Yes, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all. Oh, but wait a minute. This is her left hand as well, look. Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please. And it seems very stiff, too. In fact, it's really hard. You mean... It's made of wax? Indeed. So she's got... Yeah, you can see... Oh, you can even see under that she's holding it.
Take that!
So she smacked him over the head with it. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow. How could you... The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. Oh, the hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals, in fact, it's a left hand. Ah! And it seems somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madame. It is the hand of a waxwork model. Kyah! Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage. So you mean that arm? Yes, this gentleman saw it fit to try and remove it as a souvenir. Bruh! No small keepsake. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms.
I'm afraid I had to teach the man a lesson.
You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. Oh, you confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. The result? The scene we see before us. He was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being we have our conclusion. The other wax model was just missing from the background. The so-called policeman. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit has been kidnapped. Kidnapped. Solved. Now, as for where it is... The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider the problem for a moment.
You cannot possibly...
That's probably where the hand came from, because it's a left hand too, and we can't see his left hand from this angle. What strikes me immediately about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief.
According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway. A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. It's a secret that's closely guarded by Scotland Yard.
That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away.
Well, uncovering secrets is any true detective's nature, of course.
Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tuspel's reaction to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. Because, you see... I'm just gonna... Yeah. Don't need to check it first. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his shoulder stub. No such boneless human walks this earth, of that I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact defying all odds. Defying all odds, a waxwork model. Obviously. Oh, that's... His name is John Clay because, you know, he's a model. Except he's made of wax and not clay, but don't worry about that. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes.
He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man.
Naturally! What other explanation could there be?
And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it?
Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching him closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork.
But you...
Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madame. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe! The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag.
A killer policeman called Ottermole, was it? Was he well known? It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price, though. Threepence isn't much money.
Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garradham's delightful lodgings, in fact. So this is the special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? A waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for £200. Is a crusty old killer policeman Ottermole? Really?
Perhaps we should have a good look around again and see if another idea crops up.
Oh, hello. Look at this. The old man's tapping his foot like crazy. He just like me, for real, for real.
He seems to be fast asleep, though.
He's not tapping his foot consciously, then.
So you mean it must be a Twitch?
Twitch? Where I'm streaming this right now? Never mind that. The point is waxworks don't tap their feet.
Or Twitch.
Look at his arm, too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we?
Ah, yes. But I'm guessing it's the Twitch. So he is probably a policeman. But I guess that should be obvious by the hat. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious Twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a Twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives then. And there you have it, well, Madame Tuspels. Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He's clearly fatigued. He's sound asleep. But then, what's this tag about showing the price of 3 pence? No doubt the price of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you've observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does that not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway. Of course, because, as you know, there has been such a criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective. So it would seem that we have finally arrived at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. We ran around in circles. Conclusion, still a mystery. So, that's not how that works. That's not how that works, Sholmes. All sorts of people visit my museum here. Men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway. Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe. It was a pleasure, my dear madame. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. As for your rough customer, I've no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted. Yes, tragically, it was. Then I would ask you to recount us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork, in as much detail as possible, if you please. Very well. But after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work. The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. However, that will be saved for next time. I will save here. Yes, we good. All right. Well, that was fun. Where's the chat scene? Fun times. Very interesting case, this one. Got scientific explosions and fucking waxworks being stolen. Don't see how they could be connected, but I'm sure Ace Attorney will figure it out somehow. But yeah, that's going to be all for today. We went a bit over time, but that's okay because I started late anyway, so we're going to end at about 3 hours. I am back to work next week for 1 week, and then I'll probably be on leave again because my actual planned leave is coming up, assuming I don't shuffle things around. But I probably won't because I didn't get to work on any song covers this week because of my fucking exam. But yeah, we'll see. My next stream, regardless, will probably be next weekend. But yeah. It's gonna be all for today, so let's have a look who's online. Is anyone for me to raid? Miko is still online. Perfect. Perfect. She's not ending soon, is she? I can't tell. I'm in an ad. Okay, whatever. The ad isn't ending, so I'm just gonna do it. Did I spell that right? I did, in fact, spell that right. Here are the raid messages. Okay, so she's actually still playing. Cool. Here are the raid messages if you would like to join the raid. Otherwise, I hope you all have a good day. I would like to do some more streams that aren't just gaming, but they kind of require a little bit of planning. Also, it's a new month next month, but we're not going to start off next weekend with a new Lego building stream because I'm saving July's Lego building stream for my birthday, which is on the 20th. Well, actually, I'm probably going to do it on the 21st. Because Saturdays I still need to, I still need to draw comic strips and all that. Sundays I usually don't have to do anything. So yeah. Anyway, that's gonna be all from me. Thanks for watching. Otsukame. Bye bye. And scene.